I was bored at home on a rainy night, idly swiping through the Tinder app with little hope. That's when I came across the profile of a woman named Elena. Her profile picture displayed an enigmatic beauty, with expressive eyes and a lovely smile. I decided to swipe right, not expecting much, but to my surprise, we instantly matched. Our conversations started casually, but soon evolved into more intimate exchanges. Elena was intelligent, witty, and had a fascination with ancient books, something we shared. However, every time I suggested a personal meeting, she would dodge with vague excuses, claiming to be busy with work, traveling, among other things. I began to suspect something strange. Why was she never available to meet? I decided to investigate further. I searched for Elena on social media but found no corresponding profile. There were no digital records of her beyond Tinder. Quite odd for a young woman. Was she a fake? Intrigued and a bit uneasy, I continued my research. A thorough Google search revealed an old newspaper article about the disappearance of a young woman named Elena about 3 years ago. The photo that appeared on the screen was of a girl who looked very much like her. My heart started beating faster. How was this possible? How was I conversing with someone who disappeared so long ago? At this point, I still thought it might be a fake, but determined to uncover the truth, I decided to dive deeper into the mystery. I sent a direct message to Elena on Tinder, mentioning what I had discovered, hoping the fake would slip up. To my surprise, she responded almost instantly. "We need to meet in person. I know a place." She chose a strange, desolate location, a house far from everything. The choice of location only increased my anxiety, but something inside me urged me to accept the challenge. The next day I headed to the abandoned location on the outskirts of town. As soon as I arrived, I saw Elena standing there. She seemed nervous and hesitant. When I approached her, she looked at me. We greeted each other normally, and soon she broached the subject. "You found out, didn't you?" Her voice was tense. "Yes, Elena," I replied, trying to control my growing apprehension. "What's going on? Why did you disappear?" Elena looked around as if seeking some assurance of privacy before she began to speak. Then she became very serious. "I ran away from home," she said in a low tone, almost as if confiding a secret. "It was 3 years ago. My family was complicated. I needed to escape, find my own way." Her voice was laden with contained emotion, and I could sense the underlying pain in her words. I tried to offer comfort with a sympathetic look. "I understand, Elena. But why did you never return? Why did you disappear completely?" Elena sighed, looking away for a moment before continuing. "At first, I didn't want to be found. I wanted a fresh start, away from everything. But then, something happened. I started receiving threats," she said in a hushed voice. "Strange letters, messages. Someone was watching me. They wanted me to come back." I began to feel confused. Who could be sending these messages? And why had she decided to meet me in this desolate place now? "Why did you call me here, Elena?" I asked, trying to remain calm. She looked at me and said, "I needed help. I felt like I was being followed again, that something bad was about to happen. You were the only one who discovered the truth about me." I didn't know how to react, so I suggested calling the police, thinking an official intervention could provide protection and solve the mystery behind the threats. Elena hesitated for a moment, seeming to think hard about whether she wanted to do that. "I think it's better not to do that," she said. She then repeated that she had someone watching her and that she could not do this. As she said this, I began to notice something strange. She was always looking around and getting small scares, for no reason. The place we were was strange, but it certainly didn't have anyone else there. But anyway, Elena seemed to need help. However, I was afraid to go to the police station and say that I found her, as it was not my decision, and I did not know what she had gone through at home with her parents. So I tried to convince her that it was better to go to the police, and that there was no one watching her there. Then out of nowhere, something happened. She began to have some kind of crisis, as if she were hearing something horrible. I stood there, not knowing what to do. She then started screaming for me to leave. And as I had already taken enough risks, I left there and went straight to the police station. She certainly was not well enough to make any decisions for herself. When I got there and explained everything to the delegate, he explained to me that her case was well known there. He told me that she suffered from severe schizophrenia, and that since she ran away from home, she has never been seen again. I went home that day normally, not believing what I had experienced. The police did not find her, and her profile on Tinder was deleted. To this day, I've never heard from Elena again. A few weeks ago, I went through a terrifying experience that I'm still trying to process. I feel I must share this to raise awareness about the dangers and the importance of taking precautions, especially when meeting people online. I met this amazing woman on Tinder. Our conversation flowed so well that we decided to meet in person. For our first 2 dates, we went to cafes and took some outdoor walks. She was charming, intelligent, and we seemed to have a genuine connection. On our 3rd date, she suggested I come over to her place to have some wine. I felt comfortable with the idea, trusting her and thinking we were building something special. Besides, it's rare for a woman to invite you to her home on the 3rd date. I arrived at her house that night. She welcomed me with a warm smile, and we sat in the living room, chatting and laughing. She opened a bottle of wine, and everything seemed fine. However, after a while, I started feeling strange. My vision blurred, and I felt dizzy, as if I were floating. I was used to drinking, so I was confused. Before I started feeling dizzy, we were talking about intimate things. She had a strange photo on the wall. Then she said something that made me suspicious for the first time. She mentioned having some very different fantasies, and being a woman only helped her with that. She seemed to want to tell me something. At first, I thought it was just a weird joke. She laughed with a mischievous look in her eyes. However, as time passed and I began to feel more and more out of place, that comment came back to my mind. I remembered hearing terrible stories about dates gone wrong, and I realized something was very wrong. That's when it hit me. She had put something in my wine. I was being drugged. I remember feeling stunned for a moment, trying to keep my composure. I decided to act quickly. With a forced smile, I politely suggested that I needed to use the bathroom. I wanted to get out of there without raising suspicions. I went into the bathroom and locked the door, trying to stay calm while my heart raced uncontrollably. I discreetly called the police, explaining the situation and requesting immediate help. While in the bathroom, I felt my body weaken and my vision blur. Everything around me seemed blurry and distant. Fear took over as I desperately waited for the police. Finally, after some time, I heard a knock on the door and the police's voice on the other side. It was an indescribable relief. They broke down the door and found me on the floor, almost unconscious. I remember them helping me to stand up, still feeling confused. I was taken out of the house and put into an ambulance. The adrenaline was wearing off, and I began to realize the gravity of the situation. Days later, I went to the police station to give my statement. I was still in shock and confused about what had happened. The police informed me that the woman had been arrested and that they found evidence of several disturbing things in her house. This experience changed my perspective. I never imagined something like this could happen to me. I am grateful to have escaped unharmed, but I know not everyone is so lucky. It's crucial to be cautious when meeting people online. Always inform a friend about your plans and keep someone updated during the meeting. Your safety always comes first. I matched with a guy named Alex on Tinder about 6 months ago. He had a charming smile in his photos and seemed like a normal person. Still, I was bored and looking for some excitement, so I decided to give it a chance. We messaged back and forth for a few days. He seemed polite enough, asking about my interests and what I did for work. Looking back, I realized I was too open too trusting. I casually mentioned where I worked several times, acting without much thought. Things started getting weird when one afternoon after work, I saw a man passing by the building where I work, and he looked a lot like Alex. He glanced up at the building, and for a moment, our eyes met. I dismissed it as a coincidence, but my stomach churned with discomfort. A couple of days later, I was in my office with my phone's battery dangerously low. I messaged Alex saying I'd talk to him later when my phone was charged. Just 10 minutes later, there he was, the same man I had seen yesterday, walking into my office with an iPhone charger in hand. I froze in my chair. How did he know where I worked? I hadn't given the exact address of the building. He smiled and handed me the charger, saying he was nearby and thought he'd drop by to deliver it. It was a nice gesture, yes, but it felt invasive, intrusive. I thanked him politely, trying to keep my composure. Later that day, I checked his social media out of curiosity. What I saw made my blood run cold. He had posted a smiling selfie earlier with a caption that made my stomach turn. "Committed man," along with a smirk. But there was no one else in the photo with him, and he didn't seem to have another woman. It couldn't be about me. We had barely even met. I decided to confront him. That night, I agreed to meet him at a bar near my work to return the charger. As I handed it back, I asked about the Instagram post. He chuckled, his eyes gleaming with something unsettling. "You seemed interested," he replied casually, sending shivers down my spine. I made a quick excuse and left, feeling his gaze burning into my back as I walked away. In the following weeks, things only got worse. Every day after work, without fail, I would spot him. He'd be there, lurking on the street as soon as I left the building. Sometimes he pretended not to see me, but I could feel his eyes following me. I started taking different routes home, but he always seemed to know where I'd be. It felt like he was hunting me, stalking me. One night, as I hurried down a poorly lit street, I heard footsteps behind me. I glanced back and my heart nearly stopped. It was him. He was smiling, his eyes gleaming with a twisted excitement. "Hey there," he called out, his voice echoing down the empty street. I started running, gasping for breath, and panicked. I didn't dare look back again until I reached the safety of my apartment. I reported him to the police, but they said there wasn't enough evidence to do anything. They advised me to be cautious and aware of my surroundings. Now I'm always looking over my shoulder, always nervous. I deleted my Tinder account and changed my phone number, but I can't shake the feeling that he's still out there, watching, waiting. If you're thinking of matching on Tinder, be careful. You never know who's really behind that charming smile. Some matches aren't made in heaven, they're made in the darkest corners of someone's mind. And once you let them in, you might never get them out. Thank you for watching until here. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next ones. See you soon.